Hello, hello, salut. I am the Rasta Witch. Here's where we learn the way of the Yan Sway Rasta, which is to say, my kind of Ital. Please subscribe and begin your own kind of Yan Sway witchcraft. All roads lead to Rome. Home. Okay, hi, how you doing? Okay, so this video is about the LGBT question. So, I can't have a YouTube channel about theology and the Bible and not say what I think about that subject, especially as a trans woman. So, obviously, then I can refer to it and things like that. So I'm recording it now, so it'll be, like done and over with, kind of like. So first of all, I don't think it's a major issue in the Bible. It like it just mentions it in a few places. People people cherry pick the Bible a lot, and it's quite hypocritical and stupid. They're taking advantage that most people don't actually read the Bible because if you say look at this verse, like if you've actually read the Bible, the Old Testament has parts where it has like it's just so obvious that it's different, it's things pasted together, and this myths from other cultures borrowed in and then retold in a different way for different needs for different people at different times. And it's almost, I don't know if any of the books are written by just like one person. In the New Testament, yeah, but not in the Old Testament. It's like things all pasted together and put together, and it's just never what it says it is, and things like that. So so like to take just like one verse here and there, you say, well, what about all the animal sacrifices? They say, well, since Jesus, we don't need animal sacrifices, which I'll go over that quite a bit. But it's just like they can, they say, women can't speak in church, and then but then it also says that women must cover their hair, and they say, well, that's just a cultural thing, like they just say, if it's whatever they want to believe, no matter what religion it is, if people wanted to accept LGBT people, they could figure out for themselves how to make it fit in and make sense from their interpretation of the Bible. But I think the biggest thing to notice is that it's not like it's one of the major points of the Bible. And you listen to a lot of these people nowadays, it's one of the things that they mostly talk about. Like it's one of the major concepts in the Bible, but it's not one of the major concepts in the Bible. And they'll bring up the creation story, but snakes don't talk. And the earth wasn't created 6,000 years ago. Evolution does exist. Some Christians believe in evolution, but they still believe, like, it's just the creation story was taken just like everything else from other myths from other cultures. And it's just it's obvious that's true. And another thing is if why doesn't it mention the dinosaurs, for one thing? Like they say, well, the dinosaurs aren't true, those are chicken bones and not real dinosaur bones. And it's like, yeah, and the earth's flat, right? Because it's like, well, they just it's what they want to believe. So another thing that doesn't get brought up a lot is like if the Jah created the earth, like the creation story, what if it's just teaching about the importance of marriage and being monogamous? That's the clean way. Has clean and unclean meats. That there's clean meat you can eat. The Old Testament has concepts like that. Like some things are clean and okay and safe, and some things aren't. And you can kind of take the logic, like with pork. A lot of those people eat pork, but yet the Bible says that's not a clean meat. But I'm not saying that's wrong, because nowadays we understand, why you need to be clean about meat, and we know that things get cooked out of it. If you cook it to a certain temperature, take the chicken up to 165 degrees, then it kills everything off, and then it is safe to eat. You can't eat. We know why you can't eat raw chicken, for example, and things like that. And so there of course there's transgender animals. There's not very many transgender animals, but there's not very many transgender humans either. Uh, you got to remember what propaganda means. It means making things look how you want it to look, even if it means, like there's thousands of cases where it's okay, like with transgender surgeries and stuff. There's like thousands and thousands and thousands of cases where it's a good thing, and there's just a handful out of like 6,000 good cases. There's like 100 bad ones or something, and so they make a documentary about those 100 and lie and say that it's hundreds and make it plural and things like that. If you fact check them, there's just never, science says gender's a spectrum, but I think that they say DNA and genes. For one thing, genes get manipulated with things get manipulated with epigenetics as far as the genes, so you can see why they always put this emphasis on DNA, even though most of the differences between men and women are a hormonal thing. It's because they know that trans women are on and trans men are on hormones, and so they don't want to use hormones as their argument. And they don't want to use genes because they know epigenetics says that they get changed. So the only thing they have is chromosomes and bones. So that's what they always want to bring up. But it's like, do those things really matter? Because like they're all like, oh, well, what is a woman? And the reason why people have such a hard time answering is because those things don't. Chromosomes and what is a woman, answering intelligently what is a woman, are what matters. What matters is that there are transgender people. You're like, oh, there aren't transgender people. X, Y, and chromosomes. It's like, oh no, there are transgender people. I'm a trans woman. Whether like I fit your definition or not doesn't matter as far as trying to make a functional society. What matters is are there people that you could use the word transgender to describe that exist. Whether they are this or whether they are that doesn't matter in a society. If there's a bunch of us, enough of us that we need to fit us in too, and there is, then we need to fit us in too. Just like everyone else. And an intelligent person can see that. Obviously, the Mark, whatever, what's his name, the Mark Walsh and the Ben Shapiro's and the Caitlin Bennett's and these kind of people of the world, they obviously hate us because they could use, they're saying, they could use they use these big words, and if you fact check them, they lie, and it's amazing how they always, I'm not really political, but yet they're always promoting a basic concept of the right. Funny thing, wow. You can tell that it's just what Ben says, the truth doesn't care about your feelings, but yeah, nothing he says can be backed up by truth. And if it has any amount of truth, it's not really the real truth. It's just what he feels like the truth ought to be. So I think the bigger picture on that's my air conditioner. The bigger truth, I'll try to talk louder on. The bigger truth on LGBT matters is that there's always been transgender people, always will. There's always been gay people, always will. There's always been bisexual people, always will. In a functional society, we need to be able to fit that in. And it's even if it is discouraged in the Bible, it's only discouraged in such a small and like less than 1% of the Bible brings it up, and Jesus doesn't even talk about it. So it's not one of the major concepts of the Bible. So if to make that sound like it's the major concept of the Bible, and the story of Adam and Eve, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that that's not a story. Overall, the Bible is not a book of science, nor is it a book of history. Even though it has some things that I guess are scientific and some things that I guess are historical, it's not really what it's doing. Those are myths and stories, and they don't need to be true in the bigger picture. They're just, it's like Santa Claus doesn't need to be a true story for kids to have fun and eat and think their candy bars taste good they got for Christmas or whatever. It's more like that. They're teaching tools that we can use to mostly teach the children, and once you get the idea, you don't even really need the stories anymore. So the bigger picture about LGBT matters is that going into the science or going into the scriptures to try to decide about those things is ridiculous. The question is are there, in a functional society, are there those kind of people, and like saying a trans woman's not a woman, it's like, oh, well, if gender's a spectrum, and if there are those kind of people, then why not just use words and have laws that help people out? Why? Obviously they have control issues. Think about it. That's like what they're like. People often reveal what's wrong with them, and the way they act about transgender people, they obviously really want to, the way they're so worried about things being modern and different from the past, and that they're control issues. They seek to control the world, and they're upset that people aren't doing things the way that they would want them to be done if they were in control. They're like a theocratical, authoritarian, maybe you could even say fascist, Christo-fascist, Muslim fascist, whatever. It's a control issue is what it is. They don't have anybody's well-being in mind or best interest in mind. That's not what they're up to, and something that haunts me is the whole Kid Rock shooting those Bud Light cans. In a world where there's tons of mass shootings and stuff like that, that's not a joke. To shoot a bunch of cans because you're angry at transgender people using a semi-automatic rifle, that's so irresponsible. Why would you direct people's energy? You come home from a hard day's work, you're transgender, it's like most people have been nice to you. You turn on TV and it's a bunch of people angry and debating endlessly about whether you should be safe, be able to feel safe in this world. So there's lots of Christian preachers out there that believe we should be executed. So one Christian preacher thinks we should be shot in the back of the head, and really believes that. And there's lots of, that's like so irresponsible in a world where there's violence to what if there's people preaching, hey, if you're a serial killer and if you like to kill people, why not kill Christian people? How does that make you feel? How does it, what if I spent all my time making videos, t-shirts, posting billboards, and marching around and protesting, saying, hey, if you're going to kill someone, kill a Christian. If you're going to kill someone, kill a Christian. Kill a Christian, kill a Christian. If you're going to kill someone, kill a Christian. How would that make you feel? It'd be like, oh, what? Why would you direct everyone, why are you doing that?